This is the Fantasy Tactile Switches, a fairly new switch manufacturer, and this Tactile has a long pole stem with a two-stage springs. So how do they sound and feel? Let's find out. But first, a quick message from our channel sponsor, PcbWay. PcbWay is your one-stop shop for all your PCB prototyping needs, and let me tell you about their shared projects. This is an open source platform where creators can share their projects and inspire more enthusiasts into building. Not only that, if you find something interesting, you can quickly add it to your cart, and PcbWay will donate a 10% cost to the creator. If you want to learn more about this, head over now to pcbway.com, links in the description. What is going on, guys? Ox here, and welcome back to my channel. I've been grinding out my Switch reviews lately, and I'm really all for it. So we are back with yet another Switch review that probably nobody asked for. So we do have the Fantasy Tactile Switches, and just to be safe with the YouTube terms, I won't be saying the complete name of the Switches. This is also my first time trying out a fantasy Switch, and I believe they are quite new to the Switch game, and actually also my first time hearing about them. This Tactile got the two-stage springs, which is very interesting, but it has the basic top and bottom housing, but it's using a long pole stem. So in today's video, it's going to be the usual, a stock versus lube comparison, a Soundtest comparison between other Tactile switches, and of course, a material breakdown. If you all want to hear my thoughts and opinion about the Switch, please do stick around at the end of the Soundtest. And speaking of Soundtest, I'll give you guys a quick disclaimer before we start. That the sound and experience may vary depending on your keyboard build, so it might sound and feel different on your board. We will of course be using the Vega 65 with a polycarbonate plates, a PCB to plate foam, and one case foam. The switches was lubed with a Tribosys 3203 and 105 grade 0 on the springs. The keycaps that was used on the Soundtest was a Domi key set. So with all of that out of the way, please do enjoy the Soundtest on the Fantasy Tactile switches. And that was the sound test for the fantasy tactile switches. Please let me know on what you think about them on the comment section down below, and let's have some discussion. And before we talk about my own thoughts and opinion, you know what's next? Let's break down the materials that's used on the switch. As you can see, this is a 5-pin switch and is using an MX style housing. We have polycarbonate for the top housing, polycarbonate again for the bottom housing, and of course we have a long pole palm stem. Lastly, the 2-stage spring with a 58-gram actuation force. So that was a material breakdown on the fantasy tactile switch. If you made it up to this point, I would like to say thank you for staying, and again, reminding you that the sound and experience may vary depending on your keyboard build, so it might be different on your board. I really like using the switches, so my thoughts on these will be quite longer than the usual videos. So let's all talk about my thoughts on the feel. On stock, well, if you have been watching my reviews, you already know that I don't really like using tactiles on stock, and this is no exception. You can really feel that plastic feeling when typing, and has that crunch or mushy feeling when typing on them on stock. It's also felt sluggish when typing. Although there was no noticeable scratches, I really, of course, recommend lubing them. Once lubed, of course, it feels so much better. Like, you can really feel a difference here, unlike some switches that doesn't really have that night and day experience. It's more smoother to type on, and I can really appreciate the bump on it, unlike on stock, which again, it's really sluggish for me. I did lube mine with a Tribosys 3203 and the usual, avoiding the stem legs and light applying some on the rails, and of course, bag lubing the springs. Now about the tactility, this thing is sharp. Like, this is sharp as hell. By far, might be the sharpest tactile that I've ever tried. I can say that they can be on par with the U4Ts. It has the sharp early to mid bump, and I can say it can be a bit harsh to some, especially if you haven't really tried tactile that much. But for my preference, it just feels so satisfying when typing and actuating. Like, I really find myself opening monkey type just to feel that bump. I don't really like 2-stage springs, but this one made me rethink about it. But there is a downside though. Since it has a 58-gram actuation force, I did feel some fatigue over time. Like, it started to feel heavy the longer I use it. Now, I don't know if this is because of the 2-stage spring. I was a bit confused because on linears, 58-gram is a bit light for me, but it really feels different here. I mean, of course, this is a tactile switch, and I don't know, maybe I'm just tripping, but as much as I like the sharp bump, the fatigue over time kinda annoys me. Again, this is based on my preference, so comment down below on what was your experience if you already tried these. Now moving on to my thoughts on the sound. On stock, you can really hear that annoying spring pings and that crunchy sound of plastic. And of course, because of this, it just sounds all over the place on stock. Let me emphasize the springs. It's just bad on stock, so I made sure to bag lube them, and I really took time, as once lubed it sounded more better and toned down. I can say that it does have a deep sounding profile because of the long pole stem, but at the same time it also has a tad bit of high pitch or pop. So it's kinda in between, and it's really my preference. I think this is by far my top 2 best sounding tactile that I've ever tried. Again, this is my preference, guys, so be civil on the comments. So to be honest, it got me to the point wherein I think they sound a bit better than the U4Ts, but I don't know, I may need to use this longer just to see how I really like the sound. Overall, this tactile is something that you should look out for if you are into that sharp and aggressive bump and looking for a sound profile that's not too deep and not too high pitch. As mentioned, I think these are really on par with the U40s, but again, that's my preference, and I'm also still bothered of that slight fatigue when using them over time. I can say that these are a nice tactile switches to pick up, and I do suggest to get 30 pieces first for your offers and modifiers and try to get a feel first. And if you like them, you can go buy a full set. So this is kind of like my life hacks for those who want to try a lot of different switches without breaking your bank. And that is it for the video, guys. I hope you all find this review helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please don't forget to hit the like button as it really helps out my channel, and let's try to aim for the usual, the 50 likes. I know we can do it. What's next? Well, we have 2 more tactiles here to try, the KTT matches and the MMD clear, plus 1 new switch from another new manufacturer, so please watch out for that. Again, don't forget to hit the like button, share if you want, and of course, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys on the next Soundtest. Peace.